Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic Calling Podcast. So today we're back with Apos. It's been a while. Inshallah, in this episode we're gonna have a special guest with us tonight. It's Detective O'Neill. So basically, we're doing this collab.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Islamic Calling, and all the brothers and sisters who are watching. I would like first to thank you for giving me this chance to appear on your wonderful channel and work with you. It's a channel that I like so much and I'm a big fan of.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the great work that you're doing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for your efforts, and may Allah reward the brothers and sisters who are supporting this channel and other da'wah channels.
So yeah, let's get to it. Let's see. So in this video, I'll be responding to two things that Ridvan said. First one being his whole stupid accusation regarding, why the prophecies or the end time prophecies doesn't happen anytime soon. This is a very stupid claim that he makes oftentimes. And the other one is like the whole moon split thing. So let's see what he says, and then I'll make my response.
In terms of predicting the end times, Muslims are probably just as bad as Jehovah's Witnesses. It all started with the Quran. It says, "Then do they await except that the hour should come upon them unexpectedly, but already there have come some of its indications. Then what good to them when it has come will be their remembrance." Quran 47:18. Since then, hundreds of still accepted wise scholars predicted that the end times have begun, that they are here, that it will happen very, very soon, and we don't have much time left. Such things happened in the 11th century, in the 10th century, right after Muhammad's death, and so on. There is a very wise scholar, there was one, in Turkey who died, I think in his 60s or something. He was very widely expected. He was called Said Nursi. He also predicted that the end times are here, and that in this century, in our century right now, things will happen. Let's see. Well, I can't blame them. I mean, it's understandable that right after Muhammad died, predictions about the end times have started, because if you look at the minor and major signs of those end times, just look for yourself here. Okay.
That's it? That's all you have? That's all you have? Where's the argument? What's your argument, dude? Like, he doesn't have an argument. It seems like he has a problem with Muslim authorities saying that end times will come soon. First of all, it doesn't matter who it is. Anyone who claims that they have knowledge of when the end times will come is an idiot. Okay? Because the knowledge of the hour is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that's it. No one else knows this. So here, Ridvan is committing what is known as the false authority fallacy. No one on earth has the authority to say when the hour will come. Even the Prophet ﷺ himself did not know when the hour will come. And we have countless evidence of this. So there are a bunch of Quran verses and hadith that I can pull up. For example, there's one. It's in Quran 7:187. It says the following. They ask you about the hour, when is its arrival. Say its knowledge is only with my Lord. None will reveal its time except Him. It lays heavily upon the heavens and the earth. It will not come upon you except unexpectedly. They ask you as if you are familiar with it. Say, its knowledge is only with Allah, but most of the people do not know. So you can read about this in Quran 7:187. Then another verse, it says, people ask you concerning the hour. Say, knowledge of it is only with Allah, and what may make you perceive, perhaps the hour is near. Quran 33:63. Now, first of all, I don't know what this Said Nursi scholar is. I have never heard of him. And I don't know whether Ridvan is lying about him or not. Knowing him, he probably is misrepresenting him. But even if he did say that, the end times is going to happen within this century or whatever, then he's wrong. Then he's wrong. Like, you're appealing to a false authority. He's not an authority to decide when the hour will come. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. So if he actually did make this claim, he's wrong.
Well, I don't understand how people take this guy's arguments seriously. If we notice in most of Ridvan's argument, it's like this. I want to make some assumptions to help me in proving my case against Islam, and I want you guys to help me in proving Islam false. So it's never about the argument itself, it's about how charitable people are with his argument. That's the only way that makes them work. For example, in this clip, Ridvan assumes that Muslims think that whatever their scholars say is actually what Islam says. So if a scholar of tafsir says that the earth is flat, that means all Muslims must believe that the earth is flat. If a scholar of Islam thinks that the end time or the hour will happen within 50 years, 100 years, then Islam teaches that. That's the only way in which Ridvan's argument is going to work. Because the moment you say, well, that's the opinion of the scholar, it's not the opinion of the Prophet or of Islam or of the Quran, that argument falls apart. His fanboys must help him by assuming that the assumptions that he makes are correct, and even Muslims must accept these assumptions in order to make his argument valid.
But regardless, let's see what else he says.
12. The moon was split in two, right? Hey everyone and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. We all know who the first person on the moon was, right? No, not Neil Armstrong. I mean 1,400 years before that. Muhammad. He didn't just walk on it, he split it in two. Okay, before we get into this, I want to set something straight. Even though many refer to this as Muhammad splitting the moon, the actual belief is that Allah split the moon for Muhammad, which is pretty much the only miracle that Muhammad ever performed.
What? Wait, okay, so who says that Prophet Muhammad walked on moon? Like, which hadith says that? Like, which Islamic scripture or scholar says that?
That is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard any human being.
I'm curious. I've never heard this. Like, who says that he walked on moon? Did you just make this up? Ridvan, what's going on? Are you smoking ganja? Like, what are you on, dude? No one says this. And then he says that, like, that this is the only miracle that was done by Prophet Salam. That is a lie, because look, you can just Google the miracles by Prophet Muhammad. Yeah, this is absolute nonsense. There are entire volumes, especially in Arabic, of books of miracles by Prophet Muhammad Salam. As a matter of fact, I'm going to quote my arch nemesis, Yakin Institute, right now. And I'm going to show you their article, just so you know I'm not being, like, biased or anything. Yeah, even they have, like an article on it. Now, there's the incident of the weeping tree, where a tree literally started crying, and people could hear that, other people could hear that. By the way, these are things that ex-Muslims mock us Muslims with, like, you know, these type of miraculous stories. And now Ridvan is acting like these don't exist. What's going on? Then there is the story of increasing the water supply. So in case you know, there's one incident where some Sahaba, they brought a water canister. It was very small, and there was like 80 people there, and the Prophet ﷺ did something, and they all did ablution with it, with a small amount of water. So it was another miracle, like that. That small amount of water almost became like infinite. So this is another miracle that was done by the Prophet ﷺ. Then he also increased food supply, and he prayed, and it immediately started raining. As a matter of fact, I think it rained for like 3 days, and there's so much more. I think Yaqeen Institute didn't like do a very good job on it, I guess, because they didn't record everything. Because there are other reports where Prophet ﷺ literally healed people. Then there's an incident where the Prophet gave date to one of his companions, and he would eat from that date, and the date would never end. There are countless and countless of miracles by the Prophet. As a matter of fact, if you go to sunnah.com and type in miracles, you will see a lot of these miracles being mentioned. And there's so many books. So again, Ridvan, like, are you ignorant of these books? Like your psychopath boyfriend? Are you ignorant about them? Because if you are ignorant, then, well, you're an idiot, and you really shouldn't be making videos on Islam. If you do know about this and you're not talking about them, then you're a dishonest, manipulative liar. I mean, then you're lying. So which one is it, Ridvan? Are you a liar or are you just an idiot? Let me know. But let's continue.
In the Quran, the event is mentioned very briefly. It says, "The hour has come near, and the moon has split." And from there it starts doing what the Quran does on every page, attacking those who don't believe in it. Looking at the Quran, there is actually not much to make of this story, because the Quran doesn't tell much. The story that Muslims believe in becomes much clearer if you read the Hadith, because that's what they believe in. As always, remember that Hadith are an essential part of Sunni Islam, and rejecting them if they are authentic is apostasy. Now, the Quran verse, as said, is very vague about the splitting of the moon. That's why people look at the Hadith. Anyway, according to the Hadith, the moon was split in two in Muhammad's time. Some Hadiths say that it just happened and Muhammad said, "Bear witness." Some say that it happened when the people of Mecca asked for a miracle. And other hadiths even describe that the moon was seen as two pieces in the sky. And some say that one part of the moon even went away to a mountain, and you could see the mountain between two parts of the moon. Looking at these hadith, we can clearly see that in Islamic sources, the event is described as the moon physically splitting in two and moving through the sky. An event that must have been visible in a huge region on Earth, right? So I just want to look at this. I don't really know what time of the day it was and what season it was, whatever. But considering that it was early at night, the moon would have been visible in these areas. Or late at night towards the morning in these areas. You would expect that the Persians and the Romans, in this time the Byzantines, would document such a miracle, because both of them, especially the Romans, kept records strictly of pretty much everything. So, since the moon was split and could be seen by so many people around the world, let's look at all the witness records now. Yeah, there are none. Only words of some Muslims in Arabia.
Okay, so what if it's only the Muslims of Arabia? What's the issue here? So, what, like Muslims of Arabia can give witness testimony? Imagine if I said this, right? Imagine there's a murder, and the only witness that we have is an atheist. And imagine this happened in America. And you have a judge, and that judge is Christian. And he says that, you know what, I'm not going to accept this man's testimony because he's a Christian. Would you accept that, Ridvan? Would you accept that logic? No, right? Which is why it's a fallacy. This particular fallacy is known as the genetic fallacy. You cannot dismiss someone's witness testimony just because their background. Okay? Just because these people who are giving this witness testimony are happen to be Muslim does not mean they're lying or they're wrong. So it's a bad logic. And also here, Ridvan is contradicting himself. I mean, if you guys look at my playlist, I have made a bunch of videos on Ridvan. And his most consistent argument against Prophet Muhammad is that, how he is an evil person, how he was a warmonger or womanizer, or the P word. He's all of this. He always accuses him, curses him, insults him. And all of this is based on Sahih Bukhari or Sahih Muslim. He always based his argument on authentic hadith. As a matter of fact, in one of his videos, he says that Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim are the most reliable.
The hadiths about Aisha's age are accepted by the vast majority of Islamic scholars, and Muslims have been believing the same things for 1,400 years now. They are just as authentic as the same hadiths that tell the Muslims how to pray 5 times a day. They share the same source, but many don't even know that. Also, the name of the hadith books gives it away. I use mostly Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim translations. The word Sahih means authentic, and that's where the hadiths come from.
So let me get this straight. So when it comes to, insulting the Prophet and attacking his character, you will accept this testimony of these Muslims, and you will have no issues with them. When it comes to insulting the Prophet, then you will have no problem using this witness testimony from these Muslims, right? You will have no issues. But when it comes to miracles, something that will prove that Islam is true, all of a sudden you're like, no, these are just Arabs. They cannot be accepted. So which one is it? Ridvan? Are Bukhari and Muslim reliable or not? Because you can't say that they're both reliable and not reliable at the same time. It's a contradiction. As a matter of fact, I pointed this out like years ago. And this is one of the fundamental problems with the anti-Islam arguments. They always lead to this contradiction. You cannot expect us to accept this completely contradictory view where you're going to insult and belittle our Prophet based on our sources. Then when our sources refute you, you're not gonna all of a sudden not gonna accept that. So again, I'm gonna ask, is Bukhari and Muslim reliable or not? Now, some may say that, just because he accepts some reports from these books doesn't mean he has to accept all of it. Except in this case, he does, because the Imam Bukhari is using a very particular historic science that is very robust, and it is not used by many scholars, and it is considered the most authentic. So it's not like when it comes to one incident, he's using this method, and in another incident, he's using some other method. No. And no hadith scholar have ever said this incident of moon splitting is weak. No one has ever said that. So this is not the case where it's just like one incident that is completely different than other incidents. No. This is a consistent thing. He's using the same method for all these different reports. So why is it that when it comes to, attacking Islam, these reports are completely acceptable? And then when it comes to, proving Islam is true, all of a sudden these reports are not acceptable. It doesn't work like that. This is completely inconsistent. And the third thing I want to point out is the metaphysical horse fallacy. Now, in logic, there are 2 main things that you guys need to know about. One is the metaphysics, and the other is the epistemology. So metaphysics are things that we know, right? Like, for example, this camera is black. I know this. And epistemics is basically how we know something to be true, right? Like, for example, how do we know that this camera is black? Now, when we question something, we always have a metaphysical presupposition behind that question. Now, the problem that happens sometimes is that sometimes people will ask questions based on their metaphysics, but their own metaphysics itself is not justified or problematic or false. And that is exactly the case with Ridvan, or Apos, should I say. So basically, he's asking the question that why is it not the case that no one else saw this? Because all the Romans and the Persians, they always wrote things down, right? Metaphysical presupposition here is that everything the ancient civilization always wrote things down. Now, is this presupposition true? No. This is a false idea. This is absolutely not true. Because we have countless examples of archaeological discoveries that we have discovered, even in 2021, that we had no idea of. Now, if everything was written down, that would not be possible. It wouldn't be possible for us to make any kind of archaeological discoveries because they would be written down. We would know about it. But we don't. And this shows that not everything was written down. And even if it was written down, then chances are it got lost over time. Which is why this idea that all ancient civilization wrote things down is absolutely false. So let me just put it in a syllogistic form so you guys can understand it better. Premise 1. According to Ridvan's theory, the Byzantines and the other civilizations wrote everything down. Premise 2. If we find any evidence that contradicts this theory, it would be proven false. Premise 3. We see countless archaeological discoveries that we have no written record of, which goes against Ridvan's theory. Conclusion. Therefore, Ridvan's theory about past civilizations writing everything down is false, and even if it is written down, it's possible that it got lost and was never survived, or they are still out there waiting to be discovered. And with that simple argument, I absolutely destroyed Ridvan's metaphysics. Okay? He has a stupid metaphysics. His metaphysics, which is using to fuel his epistemic question, which is that, why didn't these other civilizations saw this? I absolutely destroyed it. It's pretty simple. As a fallacy. It's a fallacy to assume because it doesn't follow, right? It's a fallacy to assume that every civilization in the past wrote things down, or even if they did write it down, that it survived to this day. It didn't. We have countless examples of this. As a matter of fact, we have very little information on history. We know almost nothing. Which is why, when it comes to Islamic history, it's almost a miracle that so much record have survived. But, yeah, and this shows that Ridvan has a very problematic metaphysical beliefs or presuppositions that are completely unjustified. And by the way, this is a type of argument that is constantly used in academia, and it's a bad argument. We shouldn't assume things about past civilization that are just not true. And with this, I'm done. And let's take a look at see what Brother Detective O'Neill has to say, and then we'll wrap up.
An example of this is the splitting of the moon argument. While many Muslims believe that the splitting of the moon miracle was only for the people of Arabia, Ridvan made an argument that if this happened, it must be seen by all other people. And since no one recorded it, that means Islam is false. This miracle is false. The Quran is false. But wait, the argument is that this is only for Arabia. And what do we mean by that? For example, if Allah Azza wa Jal wanted to show the Arabs, the pagan Arabs, that the moon split, and He didn't want anyone else to see that, let's say that we had a handful of people who were observing and watching the sky, the moon, at that time. Is it difficult for the Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal to distract their attention at that very moment when the moon split? Or if there were people who saw it, is it difficult for Allah Azza wa Jal to make them think that this is just an illusion? Or if they noted it down, is it difficult for Allah Azza wa Jal to make this document lost like thousands of other documents and manuscripts and books were lost? It's not hard for an all-powerful God to do that. Now I know the comeback that I'm going to get. Well, if the moon split into two as a miracle for Prophet Muhammad, then why did Allah Azza wa Jal make everyone else see this from different parts of the world, and this will be a supporting evidence for the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad. I would say that this is so naive. Because let's think about it. If people saw the moon split in India and recorded that event, and this document survived, what are our Islamophobic friends going to say? Are they going to say, well, that's an evidence for Islam, let's do Shahada now? Of course not. They're going to say, well, this is known from Indian tradition and Muhammad or the early Muslim copied it from there. Or everyone in the world saw the moon splitting and Muhammad ﷺ claimed it for himself, or his early companions fabricated this story. They saw the moon split, or they read documents about the moon splitting, and they claimed that this happened as a miracle of their prophet. That's what they are going to say. Just like now, whenever there is a story or information about any ancient culture, and we ask, how would Muhammad ﷺ in Arabia know this? They will say, well, this exists in the Persian sources. It exists in the Christian, Jewish sources. It exists in the Chinese and Indian sources. And Muhammad or Muslims copied it from there. So there is no point in making people see this miracle. This miracle or for Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and for the pagans, the Arab pagans who asked for it. And it happened for a few seconds, for a few minutes. In order to make Ridvan's argument valid, we must assume that the moon split for around 1 week or 2 weeks, that it's impossible for all the people on earth to see it and to record it. And we must assume that the Islamic belief is that this splitting of the moon is a miracle for all humanity. All people are going to witness the splitting of the moon, and that's a sign of Allah Azza wa Jal and the supporting evidence for the prophethood of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is the only way Ridvan's argument are going to work. Anyway, brother, thank you so much for giving me this chance. Thank you to all the brothers and sisters who are watching. Jazakumullahu khairan. And inshallah we'll meet very soon. I hope that we can work together on a live stream to dismantle the Islamophobic arguments. Again, honored to be on this wonderful, great channel. May Allah Azza wa Jal reward you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And yeah, and I want to thank brother Detective O'Neill for joining me in this video. I really like his work. Definitely go check out his channel. He made excellent videos. Anyway, and with this, I want to end the video. Thank you guys for joining. Jazakallah khairan. Inshallah, I'll see you guys next time. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.